Hello, continuing our exploration of animal diversity in a deciduous forest. We are starting with the mammal, the eastern chipmunk, scientific name Tamias striatus, and that scientific name gives us a clue to one of the distinguishing characteristics that would help us distinguish this from other chipmunks or ground squirrels in the state of Michigan. If we look at the picture, we can see white stripes on either side of the eye, as well as a black, then pale, then black stripe again, and you will see those on each side, but they don't continue through the back area. So those stripes are part of the reason it gets its name. Another way that you can distinguish this from other chipmunks in Michigan, like the least chipmunk, is that these stripes kind of fade away and they don't continue all the way to the base of the tail. In terms of habitat, these guys are commonly found or actually around human dwellings, but they can be found in forests. And distribution-wise, if we come over here and look at this field guide page, this particular field guide series always shows a map of Michigan, and then it colors in where it is commonly found. So you can see that the eastern chipmunk is found in both the upper and lower peninsula. Now I'm going to start the video, and it's going to walk us through a couple of the common sounds. Whoa, it's really loud. That down a little bit. Sometimes you don't see these guys, but sometimes you hear them in the woods. While we're listening, you can also be looking at the field guide page and jotting down anything else useful. That's the one I hear most often, when they're like, "Get off my turf, lady." So we're going to head to the next page. Whoops. Hello. So we are going to watch a video that I filmed in the UP this summer. I wasn't able to capture any on MCC's campus. I was hiking along Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. So while this is playing in the background, we just have it's a very nice nature soundtrack, lots of birds in the background, but here is where we're looking. And it'll go for a little while. And while it's filming and you're watching, I'm also going to talk a little bit about some different information about the eastern chipmunk. So the first thing you need to know is that they're diurnal. That means they are going to be most active in the morning and the evening, and that they absolutely do not like bad weather. You can see me going in for a slightly closer approach. You never know how quickly they're going to be scared. This guy was not a very scared guy. So they don't like cold or wind or rain. They will often retreat to their burrows. Burrows are 2-inch holes, and when they go into the ground, they are approximately 10 feet long, and they can be up to 4 feet down into the dirt, which I think is just amazing. They have little excavated chambers where they are going to store their food. They have a different chamber for waste, and they have chambers where they sleep as well. Interestingly, the males and the females live apart. They do not share residences. Over the winter months, they're fairly inactive. They wake up every 2 to 3 months to head to the chamber where the food is, they eat, and then they go back to the sleeping chamber. Those burrows and those tunnels, they do not hurt your yard, your garden, your flower beds. They actually aerate the soil and help improve it for healthy growing of different types of plants. Typically what they eat, they are an omnivore. That means they eat a mix of plant and animal matter. So if you're used to seeing them around wherever you live, they often are bird feeders. They do love seeds. They'll eat fruits and nuts. They'll eat buds and flowers. They will eat fungus. And if you are curious about the animal side of their diet, they will eat small frogs, baby birds, and even small snakes, which is pretty impressive for these guys. All right, let's head on to our next animal. We are going to learn about the wood frog. We're going to play the video first, and then we'll hit some of the highlights over to the side. And there will be information in the video that I'm not going to say on the side, so you might want to grab that into your lab manuals as you're going. Heather here, biology instructor. I'm walking on Witch Hazel Trail, and so you should see the scenes of a typical deciduous forest, behind me. Oh, I'm going to totally switch gears because there is an awesome wood frog right down here. Let's see if I can get close without scaring that guy. Okay. So this is the most common frog that you're going to see in a deciduous forest. Normally you would look for frogs in wetlands. This is a big one. Normally they can be a lot smaller than that. So that brownish color is pretty typical. That black thicker stripe just below the eye and then a thin white stripe below that is the typical markings that's going to allow you to distinguish the wood frog. So obviously they get their name because they live in the woods. Just checking it out. Let's see if we can come from a different angle here. Frogs are amphibians, which means that they do require water for part of their life cycle. You may remember studying that they were tadpoles at one point. Quite often, they are omnivores, eating a mix of small animals, as well as a little bit of plant material. This guy's being very calm for us. I was actually kind of hoping we might get a hop or something out of him. More to come on the wood frog. All right, so some things from the video quickly. The black stripe across the eye, that is a dead giveaway that you're dealing with a wood frog, and that white stripe underneath that really makes it pop out. And of course, you're in the woods, which is not typical territory for a lot of frogs. So where can we find these guys? Turns out that they're a pretty common species. They are the northernmost frog on our continent, so they're actually found in Canada and Alaska. That dark eye mask is distinguishing, and it's the only Michigan frog that you're going to see with that. What about their kind of season, spring, summer, and fall? So in spring, they're one of the first frogs to emerge right along with the spring creepers. They can lay up to 3,000 eggs, which is amazing. And then those eggs are going to hatch, and we're going to get tadpoles in little vestigial ponds or water-filled areas in or near the forest. The tadpoles will actually grow a lot faster in warm water than they will in cool water. Once they transition from the tadpole to adult stage, they're going to move into the forests following the breeding season in the summer months. And then in the winter, they kind of bury themselves in the leaf litter and under logs. And as you may have heard, some frogs have the ability to basically partially freeze and then thaw back out the next spring. And this is one of those frogs. Whoop. Too far there. There we go. Okay. So again, we have a field guide page. So if you want to pause the video, you can grab anything that you might have missed from the last slide. And I just wanted to show, if you've ever been walking through the woods or outside in spring months, what you might hear from a wood frog. So those are wood frogs in the background. You're going to see this guy in a second. And that's an acorn, I think, next to him for scale or size. So quite vocal in those early spring months. Okay, so let's move on to our last vertebrate species. So this is in the category of birds, or aves, if you use the Latinized name. So I start off with a very simple joke. What kind of bird lives in the woods? Woodpeckers. I thought it was kind of funny. What kind of woodpeckers do we have here in Michigan? So this picture is labeled North America, but this is 7 of the 8 species that we have in our state. The smallest ones, and the ones you might commonly see at your bird feeders, especially if you have suet, are the hairy and the downy, and they're quite hard to tell apart. If you look at the picture, they've got the same black eye mask, the same red stripe, the same beak. Their really only difference is their body size. So without seeing them side by side, they can be a little bit difficult to distinguish. The largest bird, woodpecker, that we have in Michigan woods is the pileated woodpecker, roughly running about 1.5 feet long, or 18 inches. I thought I would start off with some sounds. We're going to do the pileated woodpeckers, the one that we're going to focus on. And these are very shy birds. So you're actually really lucky if you see them, but you're more likely to hear them. So this is their call. You can see they're excavating there, the trunk of the tree. I actually kind of think it sounds like a monkey. That's what I listen for when I'm in the woods. And then down here, we can hear them, that loud drumming noise when they're drilling for insects. And I think that one kind of sounds like a nail gun. So we'll let that play and we'll replay this one. So those are the sounds of a pileated woodpecker somewhere nearby in your woods. The pileated woodpecker, and notice it's pileated is a reference to its appearance, so that's actually in its scientific name there. The pileated woodpecker is sort of hit or miss in Montcalm County. If you look at the distribution, Montcalm County is kind of roughly right there in the middle where the red and the white line meet. So the red is where they're typically found year round. I have heard and seen them in our county. They are a year-round resident, so that means they don't migrate, they don't go north, they don't go south in the winter months. They're quite shy, and you're only going to see them in really large intact woodland stands. You're not going to see them in smaller wooded habitats. They, in terms of their diet, and that's why I have the second picture over here, they tend to drill, and here's the beginning of one, longer oval holes, and eventually those holes connect into very long. So the big damage that you see, if there's sawdust at the bottom of the tree, it's possible that you're dealing with a pileated woodpecker. They will eat suet, so if you put suet out, you'll get them even in your yards, but they love insects, and that's what they're drilling for in these trees. Their favorite insect is the carpenter ant, and so one of the roles that they have is that in the way that they are part of the food chain and drilling in these trees, they're creating cavities, and then other things will come and take residence in those cavities. You will see small owls, and when this tree eventually dies and falls down, it often becomes home to the chipmunks that we just learned about. So anyway, I very much hope that you enjoyed your exploration of the Montcalm County nature trails, specifically Witch Hazel Trail, and that you learned a little bit about some new species.